So we're off to scavenging this part here, and I just want to prepare it, just having a look over to see if there are any problems with this saw bed that I need to address before we actually go and fit our router into it. Now there is this two little screws you can take out and get this piece out, which I think would be really useful if at one point we fit the router in here and we want to change the router bit. Now the screws did come out, but this one here, I don't know what happened to it, but there is no way of losing this one, and the head is quite damaged, so we need to get it out. Now I do have some tools that are going to help me with that. So this is very handy. It actually is designed to take out screws. We just need to drill that out and get that in there. So I'm just going to take a 3.5 mil and basically looking to have a thickness where it will catch, and yeah, 3.5 mil will do. Okay, so let's have a look, maybe a smaller one, 3.5 mil, yeah. So I get a proper drill bit here. I'm just going to drill a hole in here. Oops, it's aluminium, so it is going to catch. So that should be deep enough. There. There we go. This is what we need. So now that we have it in, I'm just starting to unscrew it. Let the tool grab, there we go. Now it comes out. There. So there we go. That means we don't have to get all upset that we can't get that middle piece out to maintain. We'll put that away. There. I'm just going to give this off the dust. And now we've got plenty of room trying to figure out how to put this router in. So, remember how I said that I wanted to use some of the old internals. Some of the internals that used to lower and raise the blade to actually have our router doing the same. I'm just going to grab my router. Because there are a number of things we need to do to the router, so I'm just going to give me some room. our router here. Okay, so we'll need to get that plate off and this off. And it's going to be easy enough. And we're not going to throw this away because this could be a good tool to use on our table. And there we go, put that aside. So see, we can get this plate off. Actually make a hole in that plate. So now that we have an idea on how we might approach that, I can see what actually is in the way. Right. Well, if we'll have a look here, right, we see the contraption here that kind of moves in and outwards, which I actually want to keep. And then we have this axle here that actually provides this action of that enabled to put an angle to the blade. Now it's not actually working properly anymore, and actually I just want to like take it off and fix it into place. So in this bit here is actually a bit in the way. It's just sticking out. It doesn't give me a really flush position to mount my router. So I might just like get this off and just saw it off here and get rid of all this here. So after having a look at what I really need to get down, I figured out life is going to be much easier on me if I just get the table off there and make it just easier for me to reach everything. And I needed to get it off because, as I said, I wanted to cut this and get rid of all this. So basically I had to remove this contraption. Then we move to going back and forth, loosen that from that bracket so we can take it off now. Right. What I'm going to do with this, I'm not going to be using the option to tilt the router. I don't see no real point in it, and actually I don't think that would be a very safe thing to do. So eventually, if I put everything back together again, I'm just going to lock this into place and just leave it there completely straight. So for now, I've almost got everything off here. So actually I've got everything off here. So I'm going to take it off and start working with the table there and see if we can find a solution to get our router mounted on that. Alright, so now that we've got our tabletop off, it's going to be much easier to do what we wanted to do. So we wanted to get rid of this bit here because it's going to be in the way. So I detached the tilting system, which is, where do I put it? It's basically right here, and it's actually screwed, I think, like that. Okay, so with removing that we could actually lift the table off and get started on getting this last bracket off, which you just couldn't reach if this was still attached to the table. So now we have it out. Right. Just having a look at this. So there's another clamp coming around around here, so it's about here we need to cut it. Safety goggles. I just cut it off where I put the tape. This now is going to fit like this. Okay, that's amusing. Ah, there we go. Let's have a look at how far we can actually... I mean, these have screws on these here on the side, so I would expect like some maintenance would be possible to get in there. The power goes in there, so it would be great if we could have some access to it. Okay, it doesn't seem to be. Could try the little pry of it. See if we can get these things out. Just remove the little rubbers. Try not to lose them. Taking these are all Phillips. So, now, so that reveals our whole switching me thing ditch. Could use a clean. And then again we see a, that's a big one. Ooh. Get a bigger screwdriver. Okay, that's loose, so we should be able to pry this loose now, see if we can get that. It's coming off now. Yes, there we go. There we go. So now we have access to the controls. Basically we've got a little board there. I'm going to disconnect. So I disconnect all these because I just want to have a look to see how this is all configured. So basically I've got everything open here. I've got to kind of figure out this is the power in. Goes to the switch, goes to that little RPM board here, which goes to 4 wires going out there. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use these cable ties. So what I will do, also open this one up. I will number them. So I'm not worried about the red or the blue. That's going to be easy to figure out. Now I'm going to cut the blue one and the red one because that's pretty clear where they need to go. Now I'm going to cut number 1 here. Hi, welcome back. Alright, I've been busy. I said I was taking the table off and the grips off the router, and I've done all that, right? Then I drilled some holes in the bed, and remember this little thing we got off the router? I actually used it as a template to drill my holes, so I didn't really need to measure, just put it on there, clamp it, drill the holes, and I knew Bob's your uncle, we're done. So we actually have the router mounted on the table here, so pretty solid. Another thing that I did was the screws that originally went in here, they were M4s. I kind of like, after I drilled the holes, I drilled the holes in here, re-drilled them, and actually brought them to an M6. Just wanted to have like a firmer grip. Now, remember that I said that actually I wanted a mechanism that will actually bring the router up and down without having to dig into the machine and do everything manually. My ideas was to use the construction for the old table saw that actually brought the table saw up and down. Right. So I've done some experimenting and actually came up with this design here. And what it basically does, you spin the wheel and it actually starts tilting the machine down. Right. Now you might say that this is not very precise to work with, as it sometimes shudders a bit because you're working against these springs. But as soon as you're actually rotating backwards, the motion is quite smooth, so you can have a good control on how far your router bit is sticking out. And then it goes all the way up again. Another thing that I did was I kind of like tweaked it a little bit, because this is as far this will go. This is the maximum here, right? So this doesn't need to be pulled back any further, and that's why I've had these 4 sets of nuts in here, because that basically stops us from trying to get any further. So this is the end, and as soon as we start turning we have action of it going down. Same I did that when I'm all the way down, I'm actually being stopped by these 2 nuts here that say, okay, this is as far as it will go. So that will make it easier when you have the case around it. You don't have to be like too careful that you're overdoing it or underdoing it. Actually we've set a range here on which the arm is safe to operate. So another thing that I did is, you'll notice this little pad under here, right? Now what I wanted is like to have something, it's kind of pushing and moving around, so I wanted to have something with as less friction as possible. So what I did, and probably you can see it from this side here, these little pads you can get for furniture legs and make them slide over the ground easier. That is exactly such a pad. The plastic bit is made out of Teflon, so you're going to have like pretty smooth action there, and no wearing inside the machine as well. So that is also very positive. So this is as far as we've gotten now. So basically what's left to do now is get something started with that wiring. And as you see, I've taken both of the handles off just so I have a little bit more clearings around the machine, and I've taken basically everything off that I figured I wouldn't need. I'm not throwing these bits away, but still, that's all the stuff out of the way. And having this plate coming off, and it's off now, this plate coming off means that I have room for my hands to go in, change these blades. I haven't really made a hole yet, kind of like waiting that for the last bit. because basically I just wanted to start with this first, and I started with a mock-up and kind of sized it down to what I actually wanted and see if it works, because we do have to take it off again and open it up to do our wiring. And when we do that, when we take the router off again, we actually make a hole in there. Right now at this time it's also good to have a look at the front or the other side, just a clippy if you mind. So I'm just going to bring it up and show you what I've done here. Okay. These are the holes that I drilled, right? And I basically used these little guys here. So I drilled through entirely, right? And what I did that is I took a drill about the same diameter of the head and just drilled it in deep enough for the head to disappear, because we want to keep this flush, because our material is going to come over here, so we don't want to have bolts sticking out. So that worked pretty cool, I would say. So that is, I would say, a good bit of progress to start with. So what will happen now is I'm going to take the router off again, and we're going to start doing some of the wiring and trying to figure out how we're going to fit everything on the front of the table. And it looks like this project is going to be over pretty quickly. Alright,